It seems like it's been 40 weeks since you got 40 winks. Your back pain? Unbearable. Tossing, turning, trying to find that pain-free position. And that's the moment you realize you can't spend another waking moment putting off treatment.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for spine care, with a ton of surgical and non-surgical treatments for back pain. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better, the Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This Podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This Podcast, episode 690, Shay's Weight Loss Journey, weekly updates.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This Podcast with Amanda Valentine.
Hey friends, welcome to the Pound This Podcast. I am your host, Amanda Valentine, and I have been obese for most of my life. I'm going to say about 6 years old or so. Spent well over a decade yo-yo dieting. And then about 10 years ago, I made a New Year's resolution to stop dieting and start making the best decision possible in every moment. And from then, my entire life has changed. I've lost over 100 pounds. I started this podcast at the beginning of 2018 to help other people on their weight loss journeys or their journeys to become healthier people. And I have quit my full-time 9-to-5 job, become a certified personal trainer, a certified nutrition coach, and I want to do everything in my power with my own personal journey to help you on yours. So if you're listening to this podcast and you find any value in any episode you listen to, please, please, please share the love, share with family, friends, anyone you think that could find some benefit from this podcast. And you can always reach out to me with any questions or comments. You can email me at amanda@amandavалентиnebites.com. It's my goal to give you the best information possible for your journey and let you know that you're not alone. I appreciate you listening so much, and I would really appreciate you also sharing the love with this small business entrepreneur as I try to make my life's mission helping other people live their best lives. So here we go. Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This Podcast. My goodness, it's been forever since you've been on.
I know. Good Lord. Like a month or something.
I know. So welcome back, Shay
Still
/
here,
Shannon.
guys.
Yeah. So I know the first week that you were gone, you were taking your first trip with your boyfriend.
I sure was. And
to
we're
Detroit.
still together.
Oh,
so yeah.
How'd that all go?
It was good. It was just a short trip. I think we were there 3 days. So yeah, it was good. It was fun. It was hot as hell in Michigan. So
it's hot as hell everywhere right now.
I know.
Glad we're not in Seattle and the West Coast where just everything's been melting and
ugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't be outdoors.
I know it's disgusting outside.
Uh-huh.
And so what else has been new with you? How's things been going? We haven't talked in a few weeks.
I know. Things are okay right now. I actually am trying intermittent fasting right now.
Have you done that before?
Sort of, but not very strict with it.
Okay.
But actually I've been doing that for the past week, and it's helping me feel in control again, which is super good. Because I was feeling kind of I don't know, not completely out of control, but things were just not, I had no system, and I don't know. So, but it's just helpful for me to have a cutoff time so that I'm not snacking at night. And I also realized that it has helped me to quit craving as much. I don't know why, but
that's
been
good.
Good. Yeah.
So what windows are you doing?
That was hard to kind of figure out because I want to be able to eat before I come to the gym. And then with work, I don't always have a consistent eating schedule. So I've been trying, 9 to 5 I'll eat, and that helps me cut out the night eating. I used to do a noon to 8, kind of schedule when I wasn't being very strict about it. But that's hard to do when I come to the gym in the morning. But I hate not eating before I work out.
Yeah.
I just feel it's kind of miserable.
Well, and just me being a personal trainer now, I've always had to have something in my system. I usually do something either, depending on what I'm doing, light or just anything. But training people when they come in and they haven't eaten, or even at the end of the day and they're like, oh, I was going to eat whenever I got home. Like you just get gas out so quick. And if they don't tell me, well, some people that come in now, I'm like, did you eat? Because they didn't, because they were totally like, ugh, like wiped. I'm like, did you eat? No. And I'm like, okay, man, I mean, you're paying to come to a gym and work with a personal trainer, and like, we're going to have to cut this short just because you didn't eat. And I don't know if you've noticed it here at the gym, because we're recording here at Cincy 360 Fitness, that I've got a little basket, and I went and bought protein bars and oatmeal and all this stuff in there just specifically. So if somebody comes in here of like, I didn't eat something, of like, can you at least just eat a protein bar real quick? And so I'm not not that I'm beating anyone's ass,
right?
But I don't know. And everybody works differently. Some people prefer to work out without any food in you, but I'm with you there.
I feel like I have no energy to do anything.
Yeah,
if
it
I
just
don't
feels
eat
exhausting.
Before. Yeah.
But some people feel energized from it.
I'm like, oh, and I'll start to feel like lightheaded. I'm like, I'm not really down for any of that.
So do you have like like hour windows? I know some people like manipulate the hours of like, 6-hour window to eat, and then I don't know.
I was doing like it's like ends up being a 16-hour fast, so I guess that's an 8-hour window.
Okay.
Is that right?
I don't know math, man.
Yeah, I think that's right. I was like, I'm gonna sound real dumb. They're gonna be like, there's not that many hours in a day.
We are both sounding real dumb.
Yeah, I think it's a 16-hour fast and like an 8-hour eating window.
Gotcha.
So yeah, but then occasionally, like, if I'm with a client till 10 a.m., then I'm not eating till 10 a.m. So I can either make the window smaller, or I'll just start fasting later. So
within that window, are you counting any calories, macros, just kind of intuitively eating?
I'm gonna start counting my calories. I was trying to just do like one thing for now to get that like under. But if I'm overeating in that 8 hours, it's pointless. So yeah.
Well, I think that I've personally not done intermittent fasting, and so I don't want to ever pretend like I'm an expert in it. But I know just from what I've read and from my understanding from a lot of it, which, I mean, if you disagree with me, you don't need to send me emails.
Yeah.
It's cool. This is just for a lot of people, by kind of switching to intermittent fasting, and if you're just kind of just eating within that window and not counting whatever, it usually puts you in more of a caloric deficit than you had been before. And that's probably why you're losing weight, is just because you're shortening the window and you can only eat so much. It's not like you're eating those 8 hours straight.
Right.
So just kind of by default, it just
Right.
puts you in a deficit, which equals weight loss.
Yeah.
So to have that understanding of it's not some like magic science of like, as soon as you do that, like that's what's making fat melt away or whatever. It's still, the science is eating less than you're outputting and, being in a caloric deficit. So I just feel like that when we're doing these sorts of things, and there are just so many diets out there, I think it's important when you're choosing that one to really kind of understand what it's doing for your body and how it's working, instead of just like, oh, well, I'm going to do keto and I'm going to do these things and not really understand what your relationship with carbs should be and what carbs are doing for your body and or what they're not doing. I feel, and I've been 1000% guilty of that too. It's just so and it's crazy because you're willing to do these things and not really kind of understand what you're doing or really, and I think that you're doing this smart of seeing how it feels and noticing your cravings and paying attention instead of like, well, I'm just going to do this and not feel it or know about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's like one thing that's changed a lot for me just from losing weight, is I'm a lot more aware of like how my body feels. I feel like before I paid no attention to that, like how my body and my mind feels. So, and that's one nice thing. Like if I know I'm not going to eat after 5, it's almost like it clears my head. I'm not thinking about like what I might go home and binge after work, or I'm like, what am I going to eat when I get off work? Because that's also like a comfort thing for me. Like, oh, I just worked a 12-hour day. I'm exhausted. What can I go home and eat? And instead I'm like, okay, I'm going to go home and I'm just going to like lay on my couch with my cat and relax that way instead of relaxing by shoving food in my face. Yeah. So, but yeah, even like now when I eat certain things, I'm aware of how my body feels. And before I like didn't even pay attention to that stuff. So I also bought a food sensitivity test, which I'm super excited to take. I haven't done it yet But
is that like a saliva blood test?
it's a blood test, which is weird that I do it myself.
Oh, how do you do that? Or is it like a finger prick thing? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do that because I know like I get migraines a lot, and I know like after I eat certain things, I feel like sometimes I feel really tired. So I'm just interested to see what's on that, and I think that'll help me too. Like if there's something I'm eating that makes me feel like crap a lot, then I can cut that out. I'm just hoping I'll feel like better physically.
Yeah. When do you get the results from that?
I have to actually do the test and send it in.
Okay.
So I don't know how long it takes. I can't imagine it takes too incredibly long, but I'm just excited to do it. I feel like there's so many things that happen in our body that we don't know is happening.
For sure.
So I'm like, why don't we just test people for food sensitivity just because?
Yeah.
Like, I don't really understand why we wouldn't do that, but I just am excited to know, like, okay, this is impacting my body negatively. Like, I can fix that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I'm super curious to hear your results from that.
Yeah. My mom just did one, and it's like, just like funny things like grapes and carrots bother her. And like, how would you ever know that? There's just like random things. So yeah, I'm like, I hope grapes don't bother me because homegirl loves some grapes.
Yeah, right? You had those
know.
cotton candy grapes?
Oh, I know. Those are weird to me.
I mean, I've had them before and I like them, but
Yeah.
I don't like them for the price point, man.
Oh
Those
my
things
God. Grapes are just expensive in general. And I'm like out there buying 2 bags. I'm like, give me all the grapes.
Especially and cherries too. Cherries are stupid expensive.
I know.
But I like they're so
I'm like,
yummy.
bananas. Bananas are real cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are facts.
I know. Oh my God.
So, just to kind of refresh people if they're new here.
Yeah.
So you had lost 90 pounds and you're still maintaining that. You're still, and then are you going into, with doing the intermittent fasting and about to do calorie count, are you going into a weight loss phase versus a maintenance phase?
I've been trying not to I haven't weighed myself in the past week, so I don't really know what like the intermittent fasting has done so far.
Okay.
I don't want to like be obsessive, and that's kind of what happens when I like get into a weight loss phase. So then I'm like weighing myself at night and weighing myself in the morning. So I'm going to try and be a little bit healthier about that.
Yeah, I'm doing the weigh myself once a week, and that's working for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've been just doing this so long at this point that in getting through 2020 I'm just in such a better headspace now. Even when it's up, it's like, okay, whatever. And then it's just like, how many stupid fallbacks can you have of getting this concussion that I had that I'm like not allowed to exercise? So then it's like, okay, well, you got to take that movement out of the equation. And but I'm doing, scale and measurements and photos and all of those things too. And what's crazy is over the past month, because I just started exercising again this week, really lightly kind of bringing it back in and just kind of seeing how my head feels. I will say after I exercised, my ringing in my ears got a little bit louder, but the headache didn't come back, no nausea, nothing like that. So that's kind of tells me, I'm kind of getting back into the groove of things. But the scale went up a little bit. Measurements stayed the same. But if you look at my photos, I look like leaner and tighter. And I think that's why it's so important to have all those sorts of metrics too, other than the scale. Yeah. Just because I'm like, well, if I just look at the scale, I can be like, oh, well, of course the scale's going up because I'm not exercising. Yeah. But really, my body is still changing. I just visibly don't notice it day to day, but every week taking pictures, which, again, like some weeks it's a bad headspace of taking pictures in your bra and underwear, and you're just kind of like, ugh. But I don't know, just kind of getting in the habit of doing that once a week. Is kind of a good headspace for me. And, I don't know. It's hard some days where I have like a good big fat poop and I'm like, I should weigh myself.
I know.
And I'm like, no.
I'm like, I surely just lost 30 pounds. That's right.
I'm like, no, we just keep it consistent same day. Because then if that number is low and then I get back on the scale on the day I weigh in and it's higher, and then you just get into that bad crazy. And it's just, I don't know. It's so...
And
it's
not helpful at all. So why?
Well, and the same thing too, it's like, I know you're, going into weight loss phase, but if doing the intermittent fasting, all that stuff, like you said, is making you feel better, giving you a better relationship with cravings, that's more important than what the scale says. Right. Of just how you feel.
I just want to feel good. So that's like for the food sensitivity test, like that's why I want to do that, because I'm like, I just want to feel the best that I can feel. Then, it's like, sure, I'd love to lose more weight, but I also like, I don't know. It's like I know that's really doesn't change very much about how I feel. So it's more like physical and mental. So
yeah, same. And that's where God, it's so hard not to focus on that number because I think it's just such a societal thing of like, a woman is this weight is whatever. And like, I don't know if you saw, like, what was it? Who was it? BB Rexa? Like a month ago or a week ago, she put a TikTok up of like saying like, can we normalize what 165 pounds looks like? And it's like, are people shaming 165 like that's fat? First off, that's crazy. And girl looks freaking amazing. And then I went and somebody was on Instagram too, and people are still like telling her she's fat in the comments. I'm like, God, I hate people so freaking much. For real.
Right. I know.
Like that is a healthy human size. We don't know. You don't know about her genetic makeup or everything else or her height. And and if she's feeling good, like leave her alone. I know she's famous, but damn.
And why do you care?
Oh, just because people are just
hate
their life and they have to tear everybody down with them.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to like be like at a place where I feel like I am just as worthy or have the same worth regardless of my freaking weight. Because I think it's like in my head, I was like, oh, I'm going to feel like I'm worth more if I'm skinny. And that's not really true at all.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I got a message on Instagram a few weeks ago because I've been trying to post. Well, I've been posting more pictures of my shirt off.
Yeah,
girl. You can balance this. Well, just because I'm like, like why not be confident and throw myself out there? And just for me to push my own sort of boundaries and that sort of thing. And somebody wrote me and they said, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I'm glad that you're doing this to show what like real bodies look like through weight loss. You know, not saying, I do have stretch marks and I do have loose skin and I'm not the tiniest person. And I'm like, I just wanted to be like, you know what? But so is everybody else. You know how much Photoshop goes into Instagram photos and touching up and filters and angles and lighting of like, like even the person you think is the hottest bitch ever, that is touched up, that is posed, that is sucking in, that is lighting. And I don't know. It's like when we're taking pictures of ourselves, we understand that because you're trying to get yourself into a good pose. But it's like for some reason, when we see other people's photos or videos or TikToks or anything like that, it's like somehow that filter goes away and like, wow, they look so amazing. And I see this in a lot of the TikToks that I get too. And my algorithm of just kind of body positive stuff that I see of women just being like, this is what my body looks like and I love it and I own it. And then other people saying like, yeah, I see you. And I think, my God, what a beautiful goddess. But I have the same body type as you and I tell myself I'm trash. Yeah. So it's like, what is that too? Of like, I can see it on you and I'm like, you're hot. But and then for me, I'm like, ew, no. Like, I'm really working on getting better at that myself. And that's, why the shirtless pictures of like, no, I want to see those things and be like, wow, you look good. And that's harder than losing the damn weight.
I've been
that's harder than anything.
I've been trying to notice, like, almost like pay more attention to other women's bodies out in public, not to be like judgmental, but to notice like all these things that I think are ugly or abnormal about my body are so normal. Like there's so many women who have, like, we all have such different bodies. And I feel like that's so important to like look at. Yeah. To like, all of our bodies are so freaking different.
And what it looks like in real life, not online.
Yeah. So it's not like I'm like looking at other women to judge what their bodies look like, but it's to be like, oh my gosh, all these women have totally different bodies. And I think that they're all so beautiful. So why can I not look at myself and think that when, I mean, those women have like a stomach like I do. And I think they're gorgeous. But then I like am so hateful towards myself. So I'm just trying to like just kind of accept that I have a normal freaking body. Yeah. Like but like it's, I don't know. It's all like, I swear, body dysmorphia stuff. Oh, I'm like, totally. My therapist, like when I talk about my body, she's like, you talk about your body like you're the size of a couch. And I'm like, that's how I think of myself. So it's like just trying to see myself the way that I would see other women out in public and be like, oh, my body's normal. Yeah. I do that too. But also a way of like looking what they're wearing. Because I feel like my clothes and another reason why I feel like I'm dressing different
And I just feel like such a different person now. I mean, I think we all came out kind of a different person after the pandemic stuff. But I'm like, I don't even like any of my clothes anymore. And I don't even think any of them ever really fit me the right way. And where I see people with my body type of like, just like how they're wearing clothes, or I'm like, I'm like, I could pull that off. Like where even like an example is just even like what I'm wearing today in leggings, even through my smallest sizes, the most fit I've ever been and everything, I'm like, ooh, I have to hide my ass. My ass is so gross. It's so flat. And if I look from the side, it's flat until I got those TikTok leggings. And then I'm like, my ass is kind of juicy. If you look at, like, if I'm looking from behind me, which I don't ever do, and I'm like, oh, my ass actually looks good that way. It's just from the side, it's flat because I got posterior tilt and I got glute problems. So that's why that. But I'm like, oh, I constantly even wore my workout clothes, everything I did long, making sure I have to cover my ass except for the very bottom of my ass. Because I'm like, oh, it looks gross. My ass is disgusting. The only things I told myself, and I'm like, no, it's not. And I mean, I seriously, the TikTok leggings changed my view of my body shape. And so I'm like, actually, I look better if I wear clothes that, like, you're not necessarily just crop tops, but something like that's just, I'm not fully trying to just like tent myself.
Yeah, you're accentuating your waist.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
So I'm like, yeah. So, and even that was a barrier. And it still is sometimes of like what I'm wearing now. So some of my tank tops, which are too large, like this one, I'm just knotting in the front, which happens to be the trend right now anyway. And we're like, yeah, I look good, and tell myself that, even though it's like, at first I'm like, oh, it's so uncomfortable because I'm so used to covering myself, of like, no, if I saw somebody else wearing this, I'd be like, oh, that's hot. Like, I want to wear that. And I'm like, just wear the damn thing. An example is too, I'll have to show you. And I know that this is a podcast, people can't see it, but you can look her up. A friend of mine, Allie, and I'm going to be on her podcast. She posted a picture this weekend and she's wearing like this bralette shirt. And again, she is absolutely freaking gorgeous. But I saw this and I'm like, I wonder if I could pull that off. And I'm like, I don't know. And I asked her where she got it because I'm like, I'm going to try. But she's wearing like a bralette as like a shirt, right?
You could totally pull that off.
Isn't she hot as hell though?
Oh yeah, she is.
Shout out Allie Martin, you're hot. Whew. She's Allie Martin 8 on Instagram. But she had another outfit like that too, a bralette, and then she had overalls over it. And I'm like, damn, like that looks so cool. And she's so confident in it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I at least want to kind of try it on and feel it. And that is so well out of my typical previous 2021 comfort zone, where I'm like, who cares? YOLO. We could all die any minute. Like, I might as well just be like, guess what? In 20 years, this body ain't going to be the same. Feel it now, love it now, wear whatever. And so even, because I don't want any of my clothes anymore, I would just like want to go shopping and be like, I want to find stuff that like accentuates my body and like shows off the parts. Like I discussed on this podcast before, like that at any size, the only part of my body that I really appreciated was my boobs. Because I was like, hey, I got big boobs and they're solid boobs. And out of all of the weight loss and gain I've been through, somehow they have endured. And I'm like, I still are like, I don't know how my boobs stayed in good shape through this, but hell yeah.
Yeah.
But then I feel so uncomfortable having any sort of cleavage showing. And so I'm like, well, if I think this is my best asset, that even at my highest weight, peak Amanda hates herself, I'm still like, well, my boobs is still kind of rock.
Girl, show them off.
And I'm like, why am I not? And then it's like, well, am I being slutty? And like whatever. And you go in like, no, if just kind of like, if it makes me feel good and it makes me feel confident, it is for me. It's not for me to troll for men or troll for women. This is for me. It makes me feel good. And to kind of like, and it's like, God, I'm going to be 39 years old in less than a month. And it's taken me all of this time to be like, maybe I should wear clothes that fit my body more, that I feel good in, of like, for some reason, I think that all of us think, oh, once I lose weight or once I get here, automatically, bink, all that's going to turn on and I'm going to feel this way. And no, it does not.
No. That's right.
It has to, I feel like, be a conscious decision, a conversation with yourself, and it's work.
The clothes need to fit you. You don't need to fit your clothes. Yeah. That's literally what I think about all the time. Because it's constantly like, oh, I'm not going to fit into that, or that's not going to fit me. Like, the clothes need to freaking fit your body. It's not you trying to fit them.
Yeah. Well, and even I think too of like, stuff I would enjoy, but it clings tight. And then I'm so used to like pulling your shirt away and not letting your rolls show and all of that. And then you
still do that shit.
And it's like that. And I still do that now. And then I'll be like, oh, I have back rolls. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what a body looks like.
I know. Ugh.
Of like, this is a really cute summer dress, but I'm like, oh, but you could see my bra fat rolls. I'm like, shut up, Amanda.
God.
Who cares? It looks fine. It's how a body looks. And it's, God, there's just the mental game is just so freaking hard. And unwinding all of those things that you've told yourself forever because someone told you that at some point in time, or just generally everyone around you makes you feel that way. Yeah. Or you do post a picture on social media and one, turd comes on there and tells you that's gross, and block them, man. You don't need that in your life. Do whatever the hell you're going to do.
Yeah. And they're just that miserable that the best thing they could do that day was comment on your photo.
Yeah.
Make you feel bad.
Yeah. I will say, luckily, I don't really get much of that at all. But I don't really feel like I put that out in the world.
No.
I don't try not to judge anybody or be a bitch. And the only time that I have had negative comments on my body a lot was through the radio station. And so I'm like, it wasn't through talking about weight loss and body image and everything like that. The place where you'd think people would come under attack, it's like, no, it was under my job.
Yeah.
And then you just are just like, this is this person's problem. This is not my problem. This is something they're dealing with, and I'm highlighting something that they don't like about themselves, and then they take it out on me. And trying to explain to someone that, like, one woman just kept attacking me at B105 about my body. And my response, I can't remember what I wrote, was just like, I'm like, this is really unfortunate because, women already have a tough time with body image and everything else, and we're supposed to support each other. And it's really unfortunate that you feel like you need to tear me down, and hey, I'm here to support you, and whatever. And just kind of like was just nice about it. And then that just pissed her off more and just came right back at me. And I'm like, we're done here.
Yeah.
We're done. This is, you got some stuff to work through. This is not me.
Well, and our bodies are really the least important thing about us. So it's really sad that we spend that much time thinking about them.
Right. And just like, I even think about me dying and, what people say, because I've spent so much doing this podcast and everything I'm doing, which, health and fitness and weight loss and everything else. I don't think when I die, anybody's going to talk about what my body looked like, even though me losing weight and becoming healthier was the catalyst for this. I think it's going to be like what I did through that process of what I learned through it, how I changed as a person, and how I wanted to help other people through that process. So it's still not about my body. It's about the lessons I've learned in making this body healthier. And I think that, a lot of us forget, and that's not just me, that's everybody, of like getting healthier and changing your body to a place that you feel comfortable living in is the end result. And people aren't going to be amazed specifically because your body looks a certain way. It's because we know the hard work and the determination and the work that you put in on yourself to improve. That's the part that you applaud of like. And I think that too, and I've gotten conversations about like, body compliments, and I totally agree that it's better to compliment a personality trait and stuff like that. But I think that when people do say like, wow, you're looking great, I also think that's also wrapped into of like, wow, you're doing some hard work. And I think it just comes out that way. Not saying that that's always that, but that's what I think when I see people changing anything in their life, which working at the gym, I see people every single day that are making choices to try to better themselves in whatever way. And it's like, you showed up for yourself. Right. That's the work.
Yeah.
And it's hard when there's so much other crap to worry about when you always put yourself last.
I know.
So sorry, I feel like I went on a rant there.
No, it's okay. It was a good rant.
I feel like I don't know. This year I feel like I've just been changing a lot. My word I chose for 2021 was evolve. And I really feel like I'm kind of owning through it more of that. Again, I've been on a weight loss journey now for like a decade. And this is the year I feel like I've really worked on the mental part of it the most.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's the most important part, because you can get your body to a size. And if you still hate it, even though you thought that you would love it, then that's that's the mental work.
Right.
Because that's
the really hard stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's the stuff that matters the most. Like, if you're gonna be able to be successful, I feel like you have to be able to fix the mental stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm like, I would not have lost 90 pounds if I hadn't worked on my mental stuff. It never would have happened.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the catalyst of also me losing weight, was coming to terms of like, why am I binge eating? Like, why do I hate myself so much? Let's unpack some really hard things that I've been through, and let's look at them and work through them instead of boxing them off and throwing them under the bed.
Yeah. And that's the work people don't want to do because it sucks.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Like, after, but it is not fun to do.
No.
Yeah, but I'm like, you gotta freaking do it.
Yeah. So anything else going on this week? Any sort of obstacles?
I don't think so. Yeah, really just work this week. Nothing too crazy. So I don't I'm not traveling at all this summer. Like, the first trip I'm actually taking is September. So yeah, just kind of trying to have like a normal routine. That's what feels good.
Yeah, I've been having that discussion with clients because we just got out of the 4th of July. And I'm like, okay, well, we got Labor Day, but that's over a month away. And a lot of people like are already chilled on the vacations, or they've taken it and stuff like that, of like, okay, well, then this is, you know, that stuff's always going to come up. There's always going to be a holiday, a party, a wedding, anything of just kind of like, you got to find that rhythm instead of like, oh, well, why even bother this week? Because this weekend I have this, you know what I mean? So it's just trying to find that, at least in those windows where you have a little bit of break of like, let's get this routine established so I can get through those events a little bit easier.
For sure.
So that's cool that you kind of got a break here.
So, and even like the 4th of July, it was nice. I went home to see my parents. They had like a cookout with their neighbors, but everything was healthy. I was like, I'm like living my best life right now.
Nice.
To come to the house and it's not like there's a bunch of crap to eat. So that was really nice. So yeah, I don't know. There haven't been nothing too crazy. So
well, next week you have to give us an update on how the intermittent fasting's going, calorie counting. Yeah. I'm excited to hear how that's working.
I know.
All right, cool. All right, well,
sounds good.
See you next week.
All right.
For info on health coaching and more, go to AmandaValentineBites.com.